Kelsey?
Yes.
Hi, Kelsey. My name is Miranda. I'll be your social worker today, okay? So the very first thing I wanted to talk to you about was confidentiality. So I completely leave everything between us unless you are wanting to hurt yourself or hurt other people, okay?
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, we have a list of just like common norms, some rules I have just regarding your privacy and everything. I'm going to go ahead and sign, and then I want you to look it over, ask me if there's any questions, and go ahead and sign, okay? Okay, awesome. So, Kelsey, what brought you in here today?
I feel like I'm having some family issues, and
Okay.
I'm kind of feeling a little overwhelmed. I feel like my parents are pressuring me and kind of overwhelming me a little bit.
Okay. So you said pressuring you. In what ways are you feeling pressured?
A couple different ways. I feel like they want me to do well in school, which is good, but I feel like they don't understand me very well. I feel like sometimes they still think I'm 16 and I'm not, and I'm almost 23.
Mhm.
So.
Okay. And so family, who does that consist of?
I have 5 brothers.
Okay.
3
Wow.
of them are older and live farther away. And then I have 2 younger ones and my parents.
Okay. Do you often see that they treat your brothers the same way, or do they hold you at a different kind of, expectation?
A little bit. I think that because I'm the oldest one home right now, that I think sometimes they expect me to, act like the oldest one should, but with my youngest brother, he's almost 14 and he's the baby. So I mean, between my 2 youngest brothers, the one right below me he's turning 21 in a couple weeks, and then the other one's 14. So there's kind of a little bit of an age gap there. But because my youngest brother's the baby, he gets babied a little bit.
Gets away with some things, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I feel like the expectations are higher for me because I'm the only girl, and so I know they've told me before, they're like, well, you're the only girl, so sometimes it's like you're the firstborn in a lot of ways.
Okay. So both mom and dad, 5 brothers. Wow. Big house, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you feel pressured by your parents, and so you get the most of that. And so you said mainly at school that they hold you at high standards with school.
Partially, I think a lot of it is that I've shown that I can be responsible and I can make good decisions and things like that. But my dad is a pastor and my mom's a teacher, so I think in that regard, I think that in some ways with the way the world is going, in a lot of ways that sometimes they're afraid to let me go out and do some of the things I want to do. And then they're always like, well, it's not that we don't trust you, it's just we don't trust the world. And so I think they're afraid to let me
go out into
it.
Okay. All right, so let's explore more about your parents and what exactly might be pressuring you from them besides what you've talked to me about. So you mentioned that your dad was a pastor.
Yes.
So how do you feel about that? Are you
blessed in a lot of ways? Okay.
Well, that's good.
I'm glad that I have been raised in the faith that I have.
Oh, good.
It brings me a lot of comfort in many things, but I think because he's the pastor, we're of a smaller congregation. There's only about 100 people in it. We've been out here my whole life in this area, and so a lot of ways my family is like the celebrity family there.
Okay.
So, and because of that, which is great because, they know us, they've known us since we were little, they've gotten to watch us grow up, and that's great, but in a lot of ways, it's about, reputation and how people see you, because you don't want to come across as, having a lot of problems that might reflect bad on
your
his
family,
position in our family.
That's a lot of pressure in itself right there, just with the reputation and everything, because pastors are seen very, very highly normally in communities. So so religion, I feel like, even though you feel blessed and everything. I do feel like that might be a little bit of pressure of holding that reputation up. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. And then the 5 brothers. Do you feel like they feel the same way as you, feeling blessed about the faith you've been brought up in? And
Most definitely.
yeah. Okay.
One of my older brothers is a pastor as well. So.
Okay. So you share that
Yeah.
religion. You
And
share that belief.
They're some of my biggest supporters. I'm very close with my brothers.
See, that's really, really good. Okay. Have you tried talking to them about how you feel about this extra pressure on you?
Usually I talk to them about most everything. Unfortunately, with school schedule and they're, they live in the Midwest, so they're 2 to 3 hours ahead of where we are here in Washington, and so sometimes it makes it difficult to try to find a time that works
Right.
for both of us. So, no, I haven't talked to them. I don't think it's not because I don't want to. I think it's just because of schedule and time conflicts that I just haven't had a chance to.
Okay. Do you feel like there's pressure in keeping up with them, like keeping up a relationship with them, keeping communication with them, that kind of?
Not too much.
Okay.
I know one of my brothers, the one that's pastor, he just had another son, so I have now 2 nephews.
Oh, very cool.
And so they send lots of videos and pictures of the kids, like every day. So that's pretty cool that we get to kind of see them grow up from afar.
Very cool.
And my brothers try to call frequently when they can, but usually I'm at work or at school, so I kind of miss out on that a little bit. I don't think it takes away from the fact that I can't have a relationship with them, because I feel like they're still there, and
Yeah.
they're always like, when I do talk with them, they're like, well, you can always call us for anything, or let us know when you have a problem.
Right.
I just think with all the factors of life that it just doesn't work out very well.
And Kelsey, there's a lot of bonds like that. There's a lot of bonds where you don't have to talk all the time, but you can catch up when you do see each other and everything's completely fine. And, it's just nice to see each other, right? Okay. So, it seems like we are saying a lot of your pressure is because of your parents. Like, your parents are the source of that. So I'm just curious, do you feel that way about, like, them just being the main source, or do you feel like there's other pressures around you? Because when you came and saw me, the first thing you said was that your parents are pressuring you. You feel pressure by your parents. So you kind of pinpointed your parents. I'm just curious if there's other factors that you do feel pressured by that might be affecting the overall feeling.
I think aside from just pressures of life with school and, especially with finals and stuff coming up, there's
Right.
that, but I think most of it is my parents. I feel like sometimes they don't understand me as well, or that I can't go to them with a lot of my problems because they don't offer a lot of comfort. They're very realistic. So when I tell
Okay.
them about things, they're kind of like, oh, well, that's just the way the world is, and it's not
Right.
going to get any better, and things like that. And so I'm like, okay, well, if I wanted, more negativity on the matter, I would have just kept it to myself,
So not so much nurturing as more like
Yeah.
realistically kind of mindsets.
Yeah, and I take things very personally, and I try to have fun, but I look at things very seriously.
Okay.
And so I tend to be very sensitive, and my dad used to say I was very tender-hearted in a lot of ways. And so I think that and they're wonderful parents, and I know they care, but I think just sometimes they are so afraid of the way the world is going that they're afraid that they care almost I don't say too much, but they almost care. They almost want to suffocate me in some ways because they don't want anything to happen to me.
Well, from what I gathered, you seem to be taking on a lot of pressure, and just trying to figure out what the balance is between having the nurturing family and having, your own life kind of thing. Because it seems like you're also living a lot based on how your parents want you to live. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is one of the goals we want to work towards? Because we want to get this pressure off of you, right? Is that what I'm getting? Okay. So what are some things that you like to do, just you, not really based on your parents or anything? Just, if Kelsey were thrown into another dimension, another world, and just had the day to do anything, what would you like to do?
That's kind of an interesting question because I'm kind of very much of an extroverted introvert because I like to have my privacy and keep to myself and and kind of have some alone time for me. But I can only stand to do that for so long before I feel like I have to get out and see my friends and just kind of be out there and experience the world. And I just feel like because I've been so blessed to have grown up in such a very protective environment, I feel like I don't really get to go out and do as much, and it's hard to get people to understand that.
Right.
Because I know, like, at church, it's, they know me, and so you don't want to say or come across almost as if you even have any problems because you don't want to be the girl that's struggling with things when, you're held at you're held on a higher stool almost.
Right.
Where people are watching you, and, and that's just the way the situation is, and so it's hard to talk to people there because you don't want to give you don't want to come across as bad, but it's also hard to talk to anyone who's not part of my church because you don't want to reflect bad on Christianity or my faith or,
Right.
So it's kind of hard to kind of walk the line between that. So I think maybe a goal would be trying to find a way to talk to people and kind of put myself out there a little more maybe.
Okay. And you mentioned how you feel like your reputation kind of identifies you. So I'm just curious if like that also identifies like a lot of the kind of actions you do, a lot of how you put yourself out there. And you said you want to be more social. So how can we incorporate your religion and just your beliefs and not sacrificing how you feel you might be, your reputation, by being more social, if that makes sense? Kinda. You want me to rephrase a little bit?
A little bit, please.
Okay. So you said you identify as kind of your reputation, right? You're held at this high standard kind of thing. So one of your goals is being more social, but you're also worried that some people you can't really tell some people some things because of that reputation, because of that high pedestal you stand at. So I think one of the important goals would be finding what kind of friends we could have, where you could be Kelsey, who's a believer, but also not just the believer, you have your own identity kind of thing. So, I don't know, what do you like to do? What are some things,
I would really like to travel a lot of places.
Okay.
Is something I would love to do. I'm pretty much down for most anything. I would like to, I'm all for going to the movies or going shopping or going to the beach or something like that. I like things like that. But it's really hard because, my parents they don't even want me to walk the dog around the neighborhood by myself because, you hear about, stories about girls being taken and things like that. And so, and I get that, but I have a school two buildings down from me, and so it's like it's a school, so it's not like it's not patrolled regularly and things like that. And so it's that, and I know, like, if I'm almost 23, so I'm able to drink. So if I wanted to go like to a bar with my friends or something like that, they're okay with that for the most part. But and they're like, you're old enough to make your own decisions. But part of it is, they'll give me their 15 cents on why they might not think it's a good idea. So it's almost like by then I feel guilt tripped to not go, and so it's because. And some people are like, well, maybe just don't tell your parents where you're going. I'm like, but I don't want to do that because then that comes across as disrespectful, and I still live in their house. I feel like they have a right to know if I'm not going to be home.
Definitely, yeah.
That I should be able to let them know that, but I don't. I'm almost afraid to do that because then I know they're gonna be like, well, you do what you want, but this and this and this. So.
Well, it sounds like your parents are letting you go, but also keeping you on that leash kind of thing, like just by their words mainly. So I think you should really take into heart what they're saying, that they trust you. And I mean, you're a very respectful young lady for thinking so highly about your parents, making sure that, you know, you're not going to lie to them. You're not like you're worried about how they're feeling about you going places and everything too. So really take into consideration how you feel about this situation and everything, because I mean, your parents, they're your parents, of course, you love them, but this is your life. It's your chance to, I mean, you're 23, this is where you're supposed to make these memories. So, and your parents, I mean, and how often do you go out? Do you go like,
Not usually, but mostly just because I'm busy with school, or I'm at work, or you know, I'm involved a lot at my church too, which, you know, I'm glad to be a part of, but it just kind of becomes, I know, like my brother and I, we missed like one Bible study like last summer or something, and because we're part of the pastor's family, we go to so many church events, and like that's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, like we missed this one Bible study. We didn't skip church, we still went to church first, but then like we have close family friends, they pretty much are family, and we don't usually get to see them, and they're part of our church, and so they wanted to go to brunch after church. And we did that instead of, my brother and I, instead of going to Bible study, and my parents were not happy with us, because they're like, well, you know, you should always put God first, and we should, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but like, I'm part of the church, or the pastor's family. You know how many church events I've gone to in my life? Like, I'm part of everything. And so my brother and I were so mad, because we're like, it's not like we skipped church and Bible study. Then I could see why they'd be upset, but we still went to church. So why am I being treated like I can't even go to brunch with our close family friends? Like, so I don't know, I guess I don't quite understand all their standards. I think when they were younger, they didn't get to do much. So I think maybe that probably is factored in a little bit. But I know, like, some of my friends, you know, were talking about maybe going somewhere further away, you know, in a year or two, and I don't know how I'm even going to broach it with my parents, because they don't even want me to walk the dog around the neighborhood by myself, you know, so it's kind of like, I don't know what to do, I guess.
well, you have such a high respect for your parents, and that's so great to have. Like, I commend you on that. But one of your goals were being more social, so that might have to be some leniency with how your parents are, what they mentally are okay with, because it seems like they're physically letting you go, but mentally they're kind of like, no, don't, like, keep you on that leash kind of thing. So, but being social, you're 23, like, you need to have these experiences if that's really something you want to do. So I definitely, you know, there's some ways, what I'm hearing from you is church is super, super important to you. And you have your church friends, but sometimes, that seems like all you have, right? Like that kind of, so you want to kind of branch out and be more social. So there's nothing wrong with holding on to your faith, and the cool thing about meeting other people outside of church is new perspective. So you can still hold on to that faith, still hold on to that belief, but get to know other people. And if there are people you do want to end up being friends with, they're going to respect you for that belief. So being more social, that's definitely something I feel like maybe could release some of your pressure, give you a chance to talk to somebody, and, you know, work towards be successful in one of your goals kind of thing.
Okay.
So, is there any goals, like setting boundaries kind of thing with your parents, letting them know, look, I know you're worried, but I'm 23, I need to start going out, I need to, you know, have my own interpretation of Christ and of you know, just how I'm going to balance my life kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's more, how do I approach them about the matter, because I know they're not going to like it, so I kind of have to tiptoe almost around the matter before I can bring it up. And I think they want me to have those experiences, but I think, I don't know, I know that they know I can make good decisions, and that's not the problem. I don't think the problem is, you know, their lack of, you know, faith or trust in me. I think it's just, you know, you never know what's gonna happen. And to me, I'm like, well, yeah, you don't know what's gonna happen, but at the same time, like, why should I live my life in fear of what if? Like, well, what if this happens? Like, if it's, you know, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And, it, you know, in today's world, you can be sitting in church and someone can come in and shoot up the place. That's the type of world we live in, and it's sad. But I don't think that I should be afraid to go out and do anything because of that. So I guess I don't know how they're going to take it.
Thank
That was, I know, that was like...